Don't try and introduce this on the day of a race. That's a terrible idea, and you might end up losing time because you're in a poor team. Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of this mini-series on running for newbies. So in the last one we talked a little bit about kit. Okay, today I wanted to have a little chat around, a very brief chat around fueling, hydration, and strategies around that. So along with the explosion of ultra bags, one of the other things we keep seeing a lot of, and it's great because people are starting to understand nutrition more, is this sort of stuff, lots of gels, lots of fueling on runs. Brilliant if you're doing anything long, and also the fact that people are considering that that's going to affect their performance is really good. What I would say is that actually what you need to think about is don't get too bogged down in what you're having during a run, during a race, and actually try and put more emphasis on what's happening before that and afterwards as well. So what I mean by that is a lot of this research around gels and fueling during races, etc., comes from the basis that we know most people are going to use about 40 to 60 grams of carbs per hour of running, especially in a race format. So that's why we get these things. This is obviously gels is one thing, but there's gummies, there's flapjack type things, there's liquids like your Lucozade type stuff, essentially designed to deliver a lot of carbohydrates in a very simple form very quickly. So this SIS one, for example, gives us 22 grams of carbs per gel. This OTE one, which you should definitely check out, they're a really good brand, some really good information from them as well, actually delivers 40, so it's twice as much in each gel. So that's something that obviously needs to be considered. For anyone who's tried these, and I don't mean these, I just mean gels in general, you might find that you have a bit of a different response to it than you'd expect. So some people find that they tolerate them really well. Others find that their stomach gets upset. And a lot of people find they have a certain level of tolerance, so they can have maybe like 3 or 4. And after that, then they'll start to feel a bit crappy. So this is something that if you're going to use, you need to practice during your training runs. Don't try and introduce this on the day of a race. That's a terrible idea, and you might end up losing time because you're in a portaloo. So that aside, if you're running, let's say 5K, 10K, sub-hour, okay, you're probably not going to get a lot of benefit from having a gel during that run. And the reason for that is because you've already, or should already have, adequate fuel stores and available glycogen in your body for that run. So that comes from, and yeah, it's not sexy, but it's the truth, eating well and prepping for the run in the 24 hours leading up to it. So making sure your diet is balanced, has adequate carbohydrates for your training, and then also thinking about in the maybe 2 hours before you run, what kind of snack, breakfast, whatever it is you can have that's going to give you that sort of carbohydrate availability. So that could be, I don't know, porridge, anything like that that's got that kind of good immediate level of carbohydrates in. By keeping that on track and keeping on top of that, you're probably not going to feel like you need gels, etc. You're not going to need a boost during the run. So that's really important. And also refueling afterwards, because obviously we're not just going to run once and that's it. We're going to run, and then maybe tomorrow or the day after there'll be another one. So making sure when you get back, once you've had hydration and you've had your shower or whatever, then we want to have a post-workout meal as well, which again is probably going to be a little bit higher in carbohydrates than usual to try and replenish those glycogen stores. Nutrition isn't my specialist area, by the way, so there's definitely going to be people out there that will give you really good tailored advice. Okay, this is just kind of basic pointers for most. From a hydration perspective, a lot of people now are starting to get really good with the idea of taking on water. So again, we talked last time about these things. Okay, filling up your water bottles, taking them with you, not going to need that if you're going for less than an hour. But having plenty of water before and after is a good idea. What a lot of people forget though is that to retain fluid in your body, and also the fluid that we leak out when we sweat, we need electrolytes. So that's because we lose sodium, potassium in that sweat. Okay, and then to put it back, we need to have some mixed in with the fluid as well, or in the food that we eat. So a couple of ways to do that. This sort of thing. So basically, post-workout electrolyte powder. Okay, you can just put that into your water, give it a shake, get it down you, and it's just going to give you back some of those electrolytes and help you retain some of that water as well. Kind of like when you have a diurolite when you've had like a bad tummy and you've diarrhea and vomiting, that sort of thing. It's the same principle. You can also get those in tablet form, which you can pop in your drink. I like to have one of them most days if it's in the summer and I'm training a lot. I'll generally have one in the morning if I've got to run an hour or two later. or you can have something like that in your drink afterwards as well. So just start to think about not only the water, okay, but the electrolytes, the sodium, the potassium as well. From a dietary perspective, things like bananas as well, as a lot of people know, it's got that potassium in, that's really good. And there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of salt on your food post-workout too. So that's all going to really help. But again, the principle here is don't just think about during the run, we need to be thinking about before and after as well. And if we're not really thinking, if we're not pushing beyond, an hour's work, really they're the only ones that you need to be worried about, unless you're really, really pushing it or it's super hot.